Well, good morning, everyone. My name's Josh Miller, and this is Matt Hansen.
We both work at Penn State. Today we're going to be talking about Munki, mostly. So I think we wanted to get started with a little informal poll.
So how many of you do imaging through, let's say, gold images? You make an image with all your software already preloaded, and then you build that every time there's an update for OS 10. A few of you, okay. How many of you just take a Mac out of the box and you just start putting software on it manually? You go around and you touch everybody's system manually? None. Well, that's good.
So I think first we wanted to get started by talking about the whole Mac management lifecycle. And I think regardless of where you work, how many Macs you manage, or what software you deploy or anything, you sort of follow these three lifecycle steps. The first one is restore known good OS. So you want to get that machine back to the state that it was out of the box, even if that maybe you use the OS that comes from Apple. You still need to restore that to a known good state after a change user, lab refresh, stuff like that. Second step is you want to apply system settings. So these are policy settings, these are serial numbers, these are any sort of custom, non-standard configuration things you need to do. And then the last one is you need to deploy and update software. So you're deploying your standard suite of software and you're updating software, you're updating everything. So you're following the, deploy what your users need in the locations that they need it, and then update everywhere. So keep up to date with security updates and things like that. And the overarching goal for these three steps are first off, I think, to save you time. And stop repeating yourself. IT people are very good at problem solving. But that doesn't mean you need to solve the same problems over and over again. If you already know how to do it, automate it, document it, do things like that, and make your lives easier. Another thing is also consistency. It's much easier for you to support a fleet of systems if they're all consistent, if they're all built in the same manner, following the same steps, following the same automation processes. So, and I think your users really appreciate that consistency, the fact that they can go around to different systems that you manage and they look the same, they feel the same software's are there, same settings, the same look and feel. And I think that's really appreciated by your users. So first up is restoring that OS, and we have a few goals here. So first one is you want to install Mac OS 10. No matter how you do that, you want to get it back to that state that Apple shipped it in. And you may want to deploy, the latest version of Apple, Mac OS 10, whatever that is, whatever you're supporting. The second one is you want to quickly support new hardware models. Apple releases new hardware, you need to support that new OS as soon as possible, and you don't really have an option there. Apple sort of enforces that. And third, you want to add only the modifications to that restore process that allow your software distribution system and configuration systems to take over. So you want to spend as little time as possible creating and restoring this OS. Let your software update systems, your configuration management systems take over and do the rest. So you're not duplicating efforts between user templates and setting serial numbers on a gold master disk image. You want to do that all later on, so you can take that machine out of the box and it brings it up to speed with the rest of your fleet. So we have a couple strategies here. So we can use vanilla images. So very base. These are restorable images that you can use. You can lay down, and it's essentially what came from Apple. And the second method you can use is the Mac OS 10 installer process. You can do this in a couple ways. You can use the create OS 10 install PKG utility to create a deployable package installer that you can use. Maybe you have a small fleet, and maybe your goal is to use the Apple recovery partition. So maybe you only get a couple systems a month that you rebuild. Maybe you use the Apple recovery partition, but regardless of how you do it, you should automate it and keep it very consistent and very minimal, because you know that Apple's going to change the OS. And they change it pretty rapidly, so you don't want to spend a lot of time on this part. So second step of that management lifecycle is the configuration management, and we have a few more goals here. First one is we want to enforce our mandated settings. Maybe you have screensaver policies, other things that your institution mandates that, maybe you have printer rights or admin rights or things like that. And you want to deploy those with your configuration management systems. Second, you want to provide the helpful just work settings. So maybe your organization has a central LDAP directory or email calendaring server. You want to provide those settings through your configuration management system if possible. So your users launch mail and it pops open with your email. They launch address book and it launches the corporate contacts list. They launch Microsoft Office for the first time. It's already registered, serial numbers are applied, it just opens. They can start typing their Word documents. They don't need to register software or do anything like that. We have a couple strategies here. First, use MCX or profiles. Stop using the user home templates. MCX provide that once, often, always enforceable and across the system. It's the methods that Apple supports, and it's the methods that they're not going to break. Secondly, you can use tools like Profile Manager, the Jamf Casper Suite, local MCX, and just local profiles too. So there's a lot of ways to use MCX and profiles. The goal is just use whatever method works best for you, whatever tool you decide on. And the last step, and probably the step that we spend the most time on, is software deployment. So our goals here are to install all the required software, your standard software suites. Maybe that's Microsoft Office, maybe that's your supported web browser, things like that. And then you want to ensure that all software installed is always up to date. So it's following install what's required and then update everything. Regardless if the user installed it, if you install it, just make sure everything is up to date. And then we also want to provide sort of a self-service portal, so software that users need on the fly. They can install it, and it's the corporate licensed version. They don't have to worry about serial numbers, which options to click when installing it. They just check a box, push a button, and it just installs. So there's a couple more strategies here. One is obviously what we're going to be talking about today, which is Munki. You can also use the Jamf Casper Suite. They have a self-service option there too, and also Absolute Manage. And like I said before, I think when possible, software should just work. They shouldn't have to enter serial numbers when they click on Microsoft Word. They shouldn't have to enter any registration information. Check for updates, do things like that. Just turn that stuff off. They just want to use the software to do their job. They don't want to worry about maintaining this computer. That's your job. So we've got a lot of different tools. So first with the system and the OS restore, the one we're going to be talking about today is using AutoDMG and plus DeployStudio to lay down that vanilla image. Depending on your environment, you can also use a system image utility, things like net install. Both those utilities are pretty flexible. It's just choosing whatever suits your needs. And then for configuration management, we've got Profile Manager, which we're going to cover today. We're trying to stick to the sort of the free, open source, and low-cost solutions. There's some issues, I think, probably with Profile Manager, but it could work for your needs, depending on what they are. Another one is the Jamf and Casper Suite, which is very powerful, very full set of tools. And you can also just use local MCX and local profiles. These are configuration profiles and local MCX settings you're deploying on the local system. And then talking about software deployment, we've we're going to be talking about Munki, and then touch a little on AutoPKG and Jenkins also. So sort of the full automation lifecycle of those software deployment. And we're also going to, another option is the Casper software deployment server, and also using something like Absolute Manage, which is really great for cross-platform environment. So now that we've got all our tools, we sort of need to put them all together. So first step, we're going to use DeployStudio. DeployStudio is going to restore a vanilla image that we created with AutoDMG. It's going to maybe do some very simple one-off post-restore scripts, and it's going to maybe do some directory binding or enroll in your MDM server, your profile manager server. And then second step, that DeployStudio workflow will reboot, and
sorry, it decided to jump ahead of me. So go ahead.
We've got sort of a short video to show this too, but sort of just this summary. So after the DeployStudio process reboots, you've laid down that, you've restored that base OS, you know that OS is in a good state, and then you're rebooting. Your MDM or your configuration management server will apply MCX settings. It may apply settings, in our case, for Munki. So it applies settings for your configuration or your software distribution system. And also you can use computer groups, payload variables. In Casper, you can use stuff like smart groups, things like that to control, what software goes where, what setups go where. Maybe you have a different category of systems. You've got different, maybe they're external to your organization. You've got different, software update URLs, things like that. You're deploying those settings differently. So use your configuration management system to do that. And then lastly, we're leveraging our software distribution system to deploy all the software to bring that system up to speed with the rest of our fleet. So we maybe trigger the Munki bootstrap process. So once that kicks off, Munki starts deploying all the required software. It also deploys any updates to that software that you've imported into Munki, and it also installs all the Apple and third-party, largely the Apple updates that you've approved probably within your organization. And I mean, this goes back to the whole thin imaging process and sort of the struggles of getting that set up. And a big part of that is to just break the silence. You're deploying a lot of software in a way that the vendor didn't intend. So if things aren't working well for you, or not working as you expect, let the software vendor know. Post on their support forums, complain. Write posts on MacAdmins. Just make your voice heard, because chances are a lot of other people are struggling with the same issues. And I can't stress this enough, but especially if you pay for software, I mean, you should expect that sort of support. With paid software, even to the point of being a little mean about it. I mean, point out your software vendors, competitors that maybe are doing something that you want. Tell them how you want it to work, and then let them get it there. With open source software, make sure you explain what's not working, what you tried, that you read the documentation. And if you're a software developer, maybe you can contribute some code that might fix it, that might do something the way you want it to do. So this is very important in the whole thin imaging workflow. So we're going to show sort of a quick video that we're going to let go that shows all the steps sort of in action and how we deploy systems.
So what you're seeing here is our actual live environment in the College of Education. This is just a real simple DeployStudio workflow that goes through, formats the drive, restores the 10.9.2 image, performs directory binding, also enrolls in the Profile Manager MDM, and then installs very few packages. We do Office because it's kind of a big package, Munki, and our local admin account. So it'll go through all those steps, and we'll just go ahead and skip ahead here. So workflow completed. Once that's completed, it goes through here and starts pulling down the script we were talking about. So It'll go through and do any additional settings. One of the biggest settings we're doing here is triggering the Munki bootstrap, because what will happen is as soon as the system boots, Munki boots up, starts checking for updates. So any updates that you've defined as your base image, it will go out and it will start pulling them down. So you'll see that here if we fast forward this. So this is a 10.9 image, and we're pulling down anything that's relevant to 10.9. Ours includes the iLife suite, and we also do like Firefox, Flash, Adobe Air, Java. All that is just done. So at this point, the hardest part in our environment is getting the Mac out of the box. I mean, because of the way they wrap it. So, but once you boot it into Deploy Studio and you start that workflow, you can pretty much walk away. So we'll let that run, and we'll get back to the presentation here. So AutoDMG is the first tool we were telling you about. There was actually a session on it here at MacAdmins. Highly encourage that you watch that. Basically, you create an unbooted vanilla image, and you can also add custom packages, so like your local admin account or your MDM enrollment, Munki tools, anything you want to add. And the other thing that's really nice about AutoDMG is if you download, because you can use the App Store download, the install OS 10.app, you just drag it in there, and it will actually go out and check for Apple updates. So if Apple's released like a new version of iTunes since they released that image, it will put it in here and actually create that for you. If you're interested in AutoDMG, it's actually made by, I believe his name's Megar Bout, and it's on his GitHub. It's open source. You can go download it right now. And then the session, if you'd like to watch it, I believe it might have been yesterday. It was called Modular Image Creation, and it was by Anthony Reimer. So Deploy Studio. You can use a network or external device, depending on how your question?
Yeah, sorry.
Sure.
Is there a benefit of using the, that's how you have a package to roll it on your MDM server? Is there a benefit of using the Deploy Studio one instead?
I mean, they're both the same. It's really personal preference, because I mean, you can set the Deploy Studio workflow. Like if you want like a really simple Deploy Studio workflow, then it would be good to do the package. But if you don't mind having all those steps, then you can use Deploy Studio. So either will work.
What MDM do you guys use?
Currently we're using Profile Manager, but we're in the process of transitioning to Casper, because we've been having some issues with the code signing certificate and the iPads. So we're in that transition period.
I think one advantage to using the Deploy Studio method is it's not locked. Your enrollment, your MDM enrollment profiles are not locked into that package. It's pretty easy to create those, but you get more flexibility. You can swap those out. You know, when you're, say, you're changing MDMs or your certificate expires or stuff like that. It's a little more flexible in the Deploy Studio workflow, but it's up to you.
So part of Deploy Studio, is, like we've said, is imaging, packages, and scripts. And then there was actually a session on Deploy Studio, so if you're interested in learning about advanced workflows or anything like that, I believe Nathan Felton's giving the presentation, or he may have already given it. So for those who are wondering, what is Munki? Well, Munki is a software deployment service that accesses a web-based repository of software and software metadata, which is basically a set of instructions for that vanilla image of your software to perform installs and uninstalls of OS X software. So why Munki? Well, this is a pretty big one. No administrative privileges required, which is great, because the way Munki runs is it runs as the root user, so anybody on the system can run that, and it will perform the install as the root user. So when that's happening, it actually gives your users the sense that they are still empowered and they are still able to do what they want with that system, but that you're helping them make that system great. Has self-service for optional installs. It's real nice for users. If somebody comes to me and says, I'd really like to put Dropbox on my system, we can add it as an optional install to their manifest, and I just let them know and say, you just go into Manage Software Update, go under Optional Installs, select Dropbox, and click Install, and you can do that at your convenience, which a lot of users really like, because they don't have to be like, well, do I have to come in, or do I have to be online at a certain time? No. Like, all they need to know is they can do it when they have time.
And the nice thing too is once they install it, they'll continually get updates for that software as long as you keep releasing it. So every piece of software they install, they'll always get updates for. So.
Easy testing and version control. You basically start, the easiest way with Munki is you can have two catalogs. You can have a testing and production catalog, and you can define what systems are in those catalogs. So for instance, all of us in the IT department, we're in the testing catalog. So we get Flash, Java, everything right away. So we can test it, make sure that there's no issues. It was very helpful with the Office 14.4.1 update. I'm sure you guys have heard rumblings about that, how it turned off the volume license key. And we were able to catch that right away and basically figure out a fix for that. We created a small DMG that had the license file and only applied as an update for 14.4.1, which took care of that. Install Apple updates. It's wonderful. Users love that there's one place for everything, not just their software that's installed on their system, but all their Apple updates. Because I mean, it's all coming through one central location instead of, well, don't I have to go here to update this? No, you go one location. And you can do this from either Apple itself, or you can use a local update server with OS X Server, Repsado, NetSUS. So if you don't have a local Apple server, yeah, you can point Munki directly to Apple and it'll pull down the updates. And you can do advanced customization, which pre and post install scripts. It's really good for that software that doesn't work out of the box the way you want it to. Now, as Matt said, you definitely want to talk to the developer about that, but the pre-post install or uninstall scripts kind of give you that ability and flexibility to fix that for an interim time.
So maybe in that process you're disabling registration, you're turning off the software update, nagging prompts, you're injecting your license keys for your organization. You're making the software just work for all your users.
So what does Munki already know? Well, Munki knows disk images, packages, receipts,plists, and versions. So it knows even if you start deploying Munki and they already have, we'll use Google Chrome as an example, and you've just put Google Chrome in your repository, even though they still have it, Munki will say, okay, they already have Google Chrome. Do I have the newer version? And if it does, it'll update. So you don't have to be like, well, everybody has to be re-imaged with Munki. Munki's smart enough to be like, it has the software, but do I have an update for it? And that's really nice because you don't have to bring everybody back in and redo their systems. It also can do Adobe update packages. Penn State actually got a Adobe license for the Creative Cloud Suite, and with the DMGs and CCP files, we're actually able to deploy that through Munki. And it's been very nice because it does all the payloads that Adobe configures in those custom installations. And you can use package receipts, installs keys, or custom scripts to determine if something is installed and what version it is. So, I mean, there's certain pieces of software that, maybe the installs key or the receipts key don't work all that well. So you can use a custom script that says if this exists, and you can go and say and it's just like bash scripting or Python, and you can say if it's this version, then it's installed. And Munki will check that every time it goes through that process automatically. So you only want to install, and this is back to Matt's point, install what's required, but you want to update everything. So if they have custom software and you add that to your repository, it allows you to update that software as well. So diving in. Definitely recommend you join the Munki Dev mailing list. Good source of information. That's at this address. So if you guys want to write this down, or this presentation will be available.
And this stuff is definitely not optional. So unless you really want to work a lot harder than you have to, you should join the Munki Dev mailing list.
Because a lot of people have probably figured out what you're trying to do.
Exactly.
Grab the latest release of Munki tools. So that's out on the Munki project. You can just Google Munki and it'll take you right to the project webpage. And then you want to read and bookmark the Munki wiki because it has a lot of information on how to set it up, how to do customization, and a lot of times if you are in the OS X server room and you ask a question about Munki that's in the wiki, Greg's probably going to point you to the wiki. So. And then Munki import configure. That is how you set it up on your system so that you can start pushing packages to your repository. So server setup. The Munki server, it's just a web server, so it's not anything crazy. I mean, you can run it on anything. You can run it on Linux, Windows, OS 10, Amazon Web Services, whatever you want. Munki repo has a couple folders, consists of manifests, catalogs, packages, PKG infos, and then icons, which basically we'll talk about. This is a screenshot of a basic repo. So as you can see, it's nothing too crazy. It's just a very simple file structure. So what is the repo structure? Well, PKGs, it's where all your software actually lives. So all those DMG files you download are stored in this folder. The PKG sinfo, it's a metadata, or the set of instructions that tells Munki, what do I do with this disk image or this package? Like, what do I need to do to install this? Manifest. This is a list of software items organized by how they will be offered to clients. You can be as broad or as specific as you want. In the College of Education, we have a secure and wireless catalog, so we can differentiate between secure and wireless clients, but then we also have manifests that are for each machine, so that we can actually go down to the machine level. Because with faculty, no machine's created equal. Everybody has their own set of software, and it allows us to start with that base image, but then add that additional software that that person may need. Catalogs. This is the compilation of all the package infos, and it's used to link the manifest to software. And those are built on the fly, so you don't have to really deal with catalogs. Like, once you define catalogs and run the make catalogs function in Munki, it builds those for you. Icons. This is just to store software icons. It's actually new in Munki too, which we'll go over. It's a pretty neat little feature. So repo structure demo. Let's go take a look. So here we've got like a basic repo structure, catalogs, icons, manifests. As you can see, those are all built dynamically on the fly. I've got a couple. I've got admin for admin rights. Manifests, very simple. Those are the group manifests, and then under hosts, I have a list of all of our computer systems that we have in the College of Ed. PKGs, this is all the DMGs and PKGs that are stored in Munki. As you can see, there's a whole bunch of Google Chrome versions. Mozilla Firefox, and you can arrange that however you want. So you can have like I have folders for like web, utilities, admin. You can do that however you want. I believe Greg just uses a apps folder.
And these are all the original, installation media that you would get from the vendor. So we're not doing any modifications here. We don't have to modify the disk images or recreate those or create any packages. We want to add those to the package info files.
And that's these here. Now, you'll see there's two different extensions there. Munki doesn't really care which extension you use, and I'll explain why there's two extensions there, but it's basically just an XML file with a set of instructions on how to use that software. And that's where you would do your customization of your image versus actually customizing the package. So, maybe a couple questions. Where are packages or images of software stored? Well, that's that PKG folder. How can I keep software from installing on all my machines? That's where the PKG infos come in. You can define the catalog, you can define install check scripts, and you can define anything in that file that says this is when you should install it and why. How do I know packages were installed? The installs key, the receipts key, and any install check scripts, Munki runs those against the system and says, is this here? If not, install it. How do I remove a package I no longer want? There's actually an option in Munki that you can mark a piece of software as a managed uninstall. It's been very useful for us. I have a really old version of Carbonite or something like Clean My Mac or whatever software that just isn't software we use. So I have an old version of it, but as long as it's marked as a managed uninstall, if they've somehow installed it, it will pull it out. What happens if an installation fails? Well, Munki writes a log that reports back to the server if you have like a web tool used to report on that, and also writes to the log on the system and says why it failed. And then Munki will continue to try. So like if it couldn't mount the disk image, the next time it runs, it'll try again until it succeeds. Or if there's something wrong with the package, it gives you an error code so that you can see, okay, maybe I need to go in and see what's going on with this package and why it's not working. So administrative tools for Munki. Munki import, it imports an item into the repo. Basically just very simple command, guides you through a wizard. Make package info, this generates that set of instructions. You can do it with any kind of file. So if you're creating like a custom DMG with like a profile in it or like a plist file, you can run this command and it can generate that XML file so that you can tell Munki how to install that piece of software. Make catalogs, we kind of went over, rebuilds the catalogs to reflect any changes you've made in the package info files. So if you're modifying those package info files, those won't take effect until you run this command.
And those are all command line tools, just
yes.
to be clear too.
And then third-party tools, Munki Web Admin. This is actually built by Greg as well. Collects inventory data, allows managing of manifest, and the newest feature, license seat tracking, which is pretty nice. So you can define, so if you want to see how many you're tracking your Adobe Photoshop installations, you can define it in here, and it will actually go through all the systems in your fleet and see if it's there, and if it is, it'll report it as a license seat. Munki Report PHP, it's very similar to Munki Web Admin. It's just a nicer interface with like some graphs and might be good for a manager. And then Munki Admin, it's an application that allows editing of the repo via GUI. So for those of you who don't really like the command line, you could download this application and you can directly edit those XML files through a graphical user interface, which is pretty nice. So Munki Demo. So let's go through a couple things. Let's just show like how a Munki import configure works. So you're at the command line and you're just going to type Munki import and then it's 2 dashes configure. What's going to happen is it's going to ask you for a path to the Munki repo. You can actually mount your repo as a network share and then just type it in there and it allows you to modify it. Repo file share URL, you can type in the AFP file share. Package info extension. Now you can use plist or PKG info. You don't really have to use anything. The reason I use PKG info here is to basically define what I import versus what AutoPKG imports, because AutoPKG will do plists. The editor, I use Sublime Text, but you can use whatever you like. And then the default catalog to use, I always use testing, because you don't ever want to put something in production unless it's a piece of software like Spotify, which is like a music player. So let's go ahead and look at something else. Let's see here. So let's do a Munki import and see how that goes. So same thing from the command line. It's just Munki import, and then we're going to do Google Chrome here. So just drag and drop right onto it. It was on my desktop. And I'll just go ahead and hit enter, and it's going to go through here. And
so Munki import is opening that disk image. It's opening the disk image. It's sort of evaluating what that piece of software looks like, how it's installed. It already knows a lot of things about Mac OS X software and how it's installed. So it knows that it's a drag and drop installation.
So it sees I already have Google Chrome in my repository or something similar. This was identical because it was a test, but it would say there's an item similar to this in your repo, and see it pulled down the item name, display name, description, put in the new version, and where the installer path would be. And then it'll say, do you want to import this? And you say yes. And it'll even though it pulled that information in, you can still change it. Like, you don't have to adhere to that, but that's up to you. But like, since it's all there, you can just tap enter, go right through. Categories new in Munki 2. We'll go over that in a little bit. So is developer. They're just additional information on the PKG info. Catalog testing, and then it's like, do you want to import this item? Sure. So you see it's copying that DMG that I downloaded into my repo, and it tags the version number on the end of it. So this was just that quick Sublime Text was the PKG info that it automatically generated. Let's see if I can pull that up again. So one thing that's nice with as of Munki version 1 is you can kind of see it there. It's a metadata that it generates on the package info, shows who it was created by, when it was created, what version of Munki they were using, and what version of macOS they were using, which is pretty nice. It gives you a little bit of an audit trail. So the last thing it's going to ask you is, do you want to rebuild the catalogs? And you say yes, and it'll go through and take care of that for you. And now you've successfully added this version of Google Chrome to your software repository, and it's currently in the testing catalog. Question?
So the user's going to get the newest version of Chrome automatically?
Not because we put it in our testing catalog, they won't, because you normally wouldn't define the user as your testing catalog, they'd be production. So what this gives you the ability to do is test that software on the systems that you deem are in that testing catalog, and once you're like, okay, this is good, then you mark it production and rebuild the catalogs, and then they'll get it.
Does the software have the ability to give some users one version of Firefox and other users another version of Firefox, or does it always give the latest version?
You could get into like special catalogs to do that, but it might get a little messy.
Yeah, special catalogs, or even I think in the manifest you can specify they use a dash, and then you do so that like Google Chrome dash version. I think we'll give it an explicit version. It's hard to go back with Munki, but if you want to give them a specific version, I think you can do that.
So Munki import for Google Chrome or Firefox, those are simple drag and drop apps.
Correct.
How would Munki import handle something more complex like Office, where it's not just the app, but also support files?
Well, it's Office is usually built into a PKG, and Munki can actually handle PKGs as well. Like it can see all that metadata, and it'll generate the receipts that Office is supposed to see when it installs. So it can handle that as well. But any customization you could add on with pre or post install scripts.
Can it handle anything other? I mean, PKGs and drag and drop apps. What about an alternative installer, like a Java-based installer, or Wise installer?
We actually have an app called SPSS that deploys in a bin file. So what we do is in the package info, you define to copy that bin file to the system, and once that's copied to the system, the post install script will run that via like a bash script to like install that. And then you would define like since it's an application, like you can define an installs key for it to say, if this is listed in /applications /SPSS statistics /the app, and then like the version number, you can. So yes, you can do other installations too. It just takes a little bit of configuration.
So like if the software vendor has any sort of silent installation process, you should be able to do it through Munki.
Yes.
When you mentioned about the uninstaller, is there a wild card for that? So that we would uninstall all versions of something? We don't want Skype on any machine, all versions.
You just go to the top level manifest that's basically your global manifest, mark Skype as a managed uninstall, and it'll take it off every system.
What is there to prevent a user from removing the Munki API?
Basically, it's just an application. So if they have admin rights, yes, they could remove it. But if with Munki, you would try to revoke admin rights, so then they technically couldn't remove it. So
do you have to create a package info for the software that you don't want to be on those systems, or do you have to import it into Munki so that you can put it as a managed uninstall?
you can just import like a version of a software you don't want into Munki, and then just mark it as a managed uninstall, because it'll generate most of that, if not all of that package info for you. The only time you would want to modify a package info is if you need to make customizations, like inserting your corporate key or like setting preferences or things like that.
Yeah, so when you import it into Munki, the package info just tells it, you're telling it what that software is, what defines that software, so then it helps it remove it too. So.
Okay, so. Oh, sure.
Your Repo, is that on a separate server? Do you have an Apple file share and out of your?
Yeah, that's actually, there's a server back in our, back at our college that I can connect to via network and make changes to it as long as I have network access to it, yes.
So your stuff, you got a file share, it's just a file share.
Yeah, that's all. Munki is a basic file share with a web server. It's not anything crazy.
Okay, so when Munki runs a whole machine, is it mounting that file share, or is it the server mounting the file share?
It's actually accessing the website that you define, and downloads that actual DMG file locally to the system, and then runs the install locally. and then once it's completed, it removes that file.
No, you just, like that one was just connected with an AFP file share.
Yep. You just go out, download it, and it installs it, and then it removes it.
So, in a sense, your Munki server could be on a different view then.
Sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
As long as your share is on that, your speed would be good.
Exactly.
You can run it on the server too. So if you wanted to log into your server, run Munki import, install, import Chrome, you could do that too.
Does the end user see that as you're coming out from the desktop?
No.
No, it's all downloaded through the web. So this is just for the admin side.
Yeah, this is the admin side. The user, all they see is the actual GUI, and then once it downloads the files into a temp folder, they click update, performs that install. They're not, all they see is that progress bar saying, I'm installing updates, and once it's completed, it removes those.
How do you handle external users, like laptop users, home offices, that kind of stuff?
We, Matt actually set this up before I started at the College of Education. He added to the Munki configuration that there's an HTTP auth that is only in that config file. So if they don't have the config file, they can't auth to the HTTP server. So it is public facing, which allows users, because we have a lot of users that go to like the school districts and they need to be able to update, and it gives them that ability to still get those updates even though they're off the network.
So it's just a web server. So you would just make that web server and that port available.
Okay, so you can
off,
port forwarding or DMZ type situation.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, absolutely.
And if you're just deploying, Skype, you're deploying Chrome, free apps like that, maybe you don't even care to, lock it down. I guess the worst case, someone downloads Chrome from your Munki repo. I don't know. Yeah. But if you've got, in-house software or licensed software, you probably want to secure that somehow too.
So this next video we're going to show, real basic, just make catalogs. When you run that command, as you can see, it's going through my repo and looking at everything and building that catalog dynamically. So my production catalog has a lot of software. This is what's actually going on when you say rebuild catalogs when you're doing the Munki import.
So sort of your standard workflow for a new piece of software you're importing is you download a copy of it on your local admin system. You run Munki import against it. If it's something you've already imported, it knows a lot about that, so it just copies it from previous versions. It imports it into your Munki repo, into the testing catalog, and then you make catalogs, and then it automatically adds that package info to the catalogs. So your catalogs are just a compilation of all the package infos.
We have multiple catalogs. Usually by default, most people have like testing and production. One I like to use is development, which is just one system, so I can test it on that one system before I go into an actual, so I add another layer of testing. The other catalog I've added is admin rights, so I can just see all the admin rights of users I've granted to, like at a glance if I need to. And you can make as many catalogs as you want, or you can just have one catalog. But usually I would highly recommend you have at least a testing and a production catalog. It basically goes through all the package infos, and whatever catalog they are assigned to, it builds that file. So if you have packages that are assigned to testing, it'll build the testing catalog with those packages attached.
You had a folder with all of your client computers.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have a manifest specified for every client computer?
We do.
Then you have that manifest pointing to another manifest and that points to a catalog?
Yep.
Kind of like a hierarchy.
Correct.
And once you're ready to push out your production, you just essentially point your manifest to that catalog. Good.
Yep.
Yep.
The high-level manifest, yep.
Yep. So another thing we didn't demo but is actually really cool with Munki is OS 10 upgrades. You can use the tool Matt talked about, create OS 10 install PKG. It's actually also built by Greg. And what it allows you to do is take a vanilla image or the install OS 10 app and actually build a deployable package that you can push through Munki that would allow a user to dynamically upgrade their system from 10.7 to 10.8 or 10.8 to 10.9 or whatever. I'm sorry? It's called Create OS 10 Install PKG. If you go to the Munki website, it's actually one of the downloads.
And it's useful outside of Munki too.
Yes.
So you can just create packages for OS 10 upgrades.
Yes.
So if you had some restrictions on your network that you couldn't use the NetBoot service, you could technically just have a stick that boots up and has Munki on it, and you could reimage the machine that way.
Yes, because you could create the image with your Munki package in it, and then like the only thing you would need to do is probably have a script that runs that triggers the Munki bootstrap. And as long as you have that configuration on there, it'll go out and pull down what it needs.
How does the computer know which catalog? I guess I don't know if I'm just the right term.
That's actually the managed installs preference list file, and we'll actually go over that here right now. So I can actually show the one that's on this system, because this system's tied to Munki right now. Now, because it's deployed with our profile manager, it's actually under Manage Preferences. There are 3 locations that this can be placed. It can be in Library Preferences if you don't have an MDM, or Manage Preferences, and then there's like a private var root library preferences you can store it in as well. But basically, this file tells Munki the most important things is you want the client identifier, which there's where I define my actual manifest file. Days between notification, I'm marking true to install Apple updates. Does the installs require logout? No, because Munki will automatically prompt the user if the install really needs to require a logout. And then you define your software repo URL and your software update server URL, which the software update server URL is for Apple. So if you want to do Apple updates, now currently I have a Reposado installation, but you could point it to the Apple address as well. That file basically tells Munki, this is how I know what I need to do. So what we could do is we could do a couple additional demos. I can show the web tools. This is Munki Web Admin. This is actually built by Greg Nagel. Go ahead.
Sorry, the file that you just showed us, how do you manage it? Do you use it through MCX or?
Probably the best way to do it is to either do MCX or Profile Manager, because once it's defined in there, because you can use a payload variable, especially if you're doing computer names. That's how I had that host/computer name, because in Profile Manager under client identifier, I just define with the payload variable.
So all your systems are, I guess, managed with MCX?
Yes. That's definitely the ideal way to do it, because once your system enrolls in MDM, it gets that config file, so that you don't have to touch the system to get that config file.
Another option is to do, I think you can do, if you don't define that, it'll check in with your Munki web server, and it'll check for serial number, MAC address, computer name or host name, I think, too.
Host name, I believe.
Yeah. So there's some other options you can do too, but if you want to actually define that and change that, I think MCX is probably the best way to go.
So this is Munki Web Admin. This is actually built by Greg Nagel. It's built on the Django framework. This is the system I'm currently on. As you can see, it gives you a little breakdown of the inventory, like what remote IP it's on, how much RAM it has, what version of the OS. This is a pretty cool feature, active install, so that anytime they've checked in, I just installed Box Sync on this system. And you can actually go through these managed installs and see this is everything that I manage that's currently installed on this system. And then over here you have your managed uninstalls, and as you can see, I have the old VPN client, so if somebody for whatever reason has that old VPN client, it pulls it out, and it doesn't matter what version it is. The other nice thing about Munki Web Admin is you can view your catalogs. So I can go through, this is my production catalog. You can see I've also done a couple Apple updates in here. It's nice to be able to do Apple updates, because if Apple releases an update that is very critical and you really want it to go out to your systems and be forced, you can actually define a PKG info that's just the Apple metadata. And as you can see, the installer type, you would type Apple_update_metadata. And I wanted this to be force installed March 14th, 2013 by 5 o'clock. So if users went past that date, they would actually get prompted, and it would say you have like 15 or 30 minutes to log out, and then it would do it. Yes?
For mobile users that after that time frame, so say they don't boot their machine until the 16th, because they can do retroactive.
It will check in, it'll perform it and take care of it for you. The other cool thing you can do here, you can edit manifests on the fly. It's pretty nice. So for instance, I'll type in, this is this system. As you can see, I include the testing and production catalog, and I include our IT catalog, and it's very simple. You can go under, click plus on the optional installs, and we'll just use Google Chrome as an example. You see it auto completes. You just hit enter, save, and now that would be listed under my optional installs the next time I check in. So most tickets when I get a, yes?
What is it called? When you say optional installs, what does the client see?
Basically, when Munki finishes, they get a prompt that says you're currently up to date or there's updates available, and they have the choice to either update now, hit later, or there's a button called optional software. And when they click that, it presents them with the list of optional software that's been defined for their system.
Is it like come up in a web browser?
It's actually in the application itself, and we'll actually show that here in just a second. So,
Optional installs is like their self-service portal.
yeah, pretty much. This is actually what it looks like. So as you can see, they get a nice little list. This person has Google Chrome available, box sync, Dymo label writer, fetch. And all they do is check those boxes and hit update software list, and it will go out to your repository and pull those down. Yes?
How do you manage that list for different sets of users?
That's where your manifests come in. So we basically have a secure and wireless manifest that has the default set of software, depending whether they're wired or wireless. And then the actual computer name manifest is where we go in and say, if someone's like, I want Google Chrome, then we go into their manifest, go under optional like I just did there, and mark Google Chrome. And as soon as I hit save, the next time they check in, it downloads new versions of those catalogs and manifests, and then says when they go in optional software, Google Chrome will be available.
So like if a group of your faculty bought SPSS or some software package, you just give it to just those people?
Correct. Yep.
By the manifest?
Yes.
So you go into each individual's manifest?
You can go into an individual manifest, or you could actually define a group manifest and include that manifest in each of those computers. And then,
So maybe that would be like a department manifest, that
Yes.
this entire department has this piece of SPSS software or something.
And when you said wired and wireless, are you saying because packages might be too large to go over?
that's just kind of the way we defined it. Like, you can define it any way you want.
Like wireless, what's that division?
The only division we did there is wireless clients. Like, there's a special app at Penn State to access the AIS system, and it doesn't work from the outside, so it was just to keep that app from being available to our wireless clients because they're usually off the network.
It's just, manifests are just a way for you to organize your clients in a way that makes sense for you and your organization.
Yeah, you can define that any way you'd like. So the Managed Software Update app, this is what it looks like to the user. If a user hasn't done their updates and you, for whatever reason, want to SSH in and run it for them, you can actually go in and run that Managed Software Update command, and it'll go out and do it in the background, and the user won't see it, and that's through the command line.
This is just version 1. Version 2 is going to be
Yeah, this is version 1. A lot of these tools will also be in version 2, just the GUI is going to change, and we'll go over that. So users who install approved software at their convenience, they can do that through the optional software, and users tend to really like that because it gives them the ability to be like, I can do this on my own time. I don't have to come in at a special time and meet with you to get the software I need.
I think even if your users have admin rights, I think they still really like that because it's all their updates in one place. You know, they don't have to put in license keys or anything like that. So it makes it really easy for them. I think even as an IT admin, like I really like running my updates through that too if I have multiple systems because it's all in one place. I just push a button and walk away.
Client config, we kind of went over this. Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead. Sure.
How are users getting to this interface? Is that something they have to initiate on their own?
No, it'll actually run periodically. They can initiate it on their own, but if there's updates available, and you can define whether they install without them knowing or they get prompted to install them, it will actually prompt them periodically throughout the day. And if you have force installs, it will start bugging them and like coming up more often.
Are there options for controlling the frequency of the force installs?
Yes.
Yes.
You would do that. You would do all those client settings or notification settings to your MCX settings or the managed installs plist options.
So the big things we like to define in that managed installs is the client identifier, which is the manifest. Go ahead.
Can you turn that off, the notification? Like, let's say
believe so. Yeah, you can have no notifications whatsoever.
We'll never see it.
Right.
Yeah, the other thing you could do, I actually just did it with a couple laptops that they only use in like a lab setting, and they were like, these all need updated. I actually went on the systems and pushed out a script that says trigger Munki bootstrap and reboot, and as soon as it rebooted, it did all the updates. Because just because you do that Munki bootstrap the first time, you can trigger that anytime. Because as soon as that file exists, it will check until it's up to date, and then it will delete that file. Absolutely.
Yeah, you can also drop a tag file check and install startup. So when you boot, it'll just all install.
Right. Yep.
So maybe your workflow is never notify the users of updates through Managed Software Update, but every night, drop that file down and it updates automatically. You see in your web interface, hey, these machines, this update failed on this system, maybe I should check that out, but your users never see anything. So that would work really well in a lab scenario.
And this setting you said is inside of managed install?
The managed installs plist, yes. So Munki 2. Nice little screenshot. Looks a lot like the App Store. It's now going to be known as Managed Software Center. Big thing is it no longer supports Leopard, but I mean, hopefully none of us have 10.5 systems anymore. Uses the NSURL connection, and applications can actually be installed on demand versus selecting them from that list. So as soon as they click install on one of those apps, it starts downloading it and it'll start performing the install, which is really nice because it gives you kind of like the App Store feel. AutoPKG, I'm just going to touch on it briefly. Basically automatically downloads updates for your software. So once you have this software, it will go out to the website of Adobe for Flash or for Oracle for Java, and it'll pull down that version and compare it against your Munki repo, and if it's newer, it'll put it in there for you. And if you want to learn more about AutoPKG, I highly recommend watching Greg's presentation on You Ought to Check Out AutoPKG.
It's happening now.
Yes, that's why we said we want to watch it. Jenkins, it's a software development continuous integration system. It's just a web application for scheduling things, basically like cron, but in a GUI. And what's nice about it is you can schedule your AutoPKG checks to run automatically. So like I have every piece of software I manage in Munki in a bunch of jobs that says run between like midnight and 7 o'clock in the morning every day. So like while I'm sleeping, it's checking for updates. So I don't have to do that. So this, like I said, it'll allow you to fully automate the checking, building, and importing of software into your deployment system because AutoPKG includes the Munki import Python script that would actually do that import for you. So that Munki import thing I showed you with AutoPKG, once you define your recipe, it will actually take care of that for you.
Are you saying that goes out to like Google and Mozilla?
A lot of recipes have been made. It's a very active open source program. Yes, AutoPKG, they build a bunch of recipes for things from Chrome. I think there's even a Minecraft one, so I mean, for EDU. So I mean, you can.
So with Munki, your users don't have to check for updates for apps, individual apps. And the nice thing is with Jenkins and AutoPKG, you no longer have to check for updates for apps like that. It just imports them.
All you have to do is test them.
Yep.
It grabs the update and it automatically imports it into the Munki.
Correct.
Yep. You probably put it into your testing catalog. Try it out. As soon as it works, you're satisfied with it. You move it to production. It goes out to the rest of your system.
Just drag it from the testing folder to production?
Actually, you edit the PKG info, and we can kind of do a little demo of that, and you just change the key that says catalogs testing to production, and then run that make catalogs, and that moves it over. Yes?
What about in some applications that you're going to install, you have some post-flight scripts.
Mm-hmm.
With this program downloads it, that's in mobile, that you have those scripts also, that add them to this new package?
If they're in the package, yes. If you have your own scripts, you can actually define them in the PKG info as a pre or post install script so that you can do those like post-flight scripts. So if you have a customization script that you want to do with a piece of software, you just add that to that PKG info and it will do that for you.
This doesn't replace the actual package you have.
No.
It
All,
adds it, right?
yeah.
It keeps, so I guess.
So basically, you keep the package vanilla because you don't want to really mess with the developer package. The PKG info allows you to make customizations but still keep that vanilla image of the software. You add your customization in that set of instructions. So even though we, I was going to ask for questions, we kind of are already doing questions, but I can show one more thing. I didn't show Munki Report PHP. It's very similar. The nice thing about it is it has this cute dashboard look. Managers would really like this. It kind of gives you a at-a-glance look at your fleet. So this is really nice. The disk status, I have 21 users who are using 90% of their hard drive. I can see I have 37 users who still aren't bound to Active Directory. Shows you the activity of your clients. Today I've had 124 Munki clients check in. Yes?
So I've used the Munki reporting a little bit.
Uh-huh. Munki Web Admin allows you to actually modify the manifest and view the catalogs, whereas Munki Report PHP does not. So Munki Report PHP is good for like your manager to see like, hey, everything's working cool, and then like Munki Web Admin is more for like a sysadmin, if I had to guess.
Can you run both at the same time?
Oh yeah, I'm running both. You just have to make sure, because they both do pre-flight and post-flight with Munki. And I actually have configured that, so if you guys are interested in doing that, I could help you out with that. Yes?
Do you check in your catalogs or manifests into some sort of version control so you can understand what changes are made?
Well, the catalogs are built on the fly, so I don't really do anything there. But the manifests, like you could do version control, but I don't really, because it's really easy to modify them and take things out if you need to. Yes?
When you modify your catalogs and manifest via the web app, have you noticed that if you get like extra artifacts in the files rather than doing that one?
No, I mean, it seems to work fine both ways.
Can also show Munki Admin.
Yep. So I'll also show you guys Munki Admin. This is the GUI version of doing editing package infos. So you can see all this stuff in the repo. So for instance, let's look at, let's look at Adobe Flash, and we'll look at like the latest version. So got your name, display name, version. It's not categorized because I haven't done that yet. Unattended install, it's uninstallable. Quick description. Nice little checkbox here, force install after date. So if you wanted to make something mandatory, you just check that and pick a time. Location, size, and then here's my catalogs. It's currently in my production. So if you were moving something from testing to production, it would just be unchecking testing and checking production. And basically shows you everything. Contents, there's PKG, what it requires. Requires is nice. So if you have like a customization package and you never want that to install first, you could define a requires key and say, I want my customization package to require the actual software before it installs. So it'll,
dependency?
yes, basically a dependency. Yep. Installation, you can do items to copy, blocking applications, any supported architectures, install choices. That's pretty nice, like with the checkboxes in the actual installer. So install script, very basic shell script. Just shows that I'm turning off updates, pretty much. And then your uninstall method, which is remove packages.
Is it possible to have the Munki client on the machine on which you're running the file away or dance product or something else, just so you have it, and then can you, I'm going to sneak this in with Munki, but I'll use this for the other stuff?
You probably could do that, but I wouldn't. I wouldn't recommend doing that, but I'm actually using Munki with Jamf. I'm just not using their software deployment. So, and it's just.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you just have to slowly migrate.
You just want to avoid any scenarios where you're competing.
Yeah, you don't want them competing because it could cause.
Well, I do, but.
Yes. Oh, okay. So this is Munki 2. This is everything. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Do you have to keep, like, the giant list of Adobe Flash players? Do you have to keep all of those in there?
You don't, but it's nice to do that because it keeps version control in case you have a client that's running a really old version. It helps them get on that update path. And it's nice to be able to keep them in there in case you ever would have to roll back in case, you know, one product
How
isn't
would
it.
you remove a package from Munki if you wanted to take one out? I mean, you just delete it?
Delete the DMG file in the PKG and hit run, make catalogs, and it disappears.
How many Macs do you guys have out there that are Munki clients?
In the College of Education, we have 485, I believe, and it's been pretty nice. And users actually are giving us pretty positive feedback because they like that. Like, they're like, "I need Dropbox," and we're like, "Okay, here you go," and then they just install it.
Saves you a lot of time and saves you a lot of tickets.
Flash players,
Mm-hmm.
catalogs do you have the older versions playing to?
They're still in production, so like if a user is, but Munki's smart enough to know only use the newest one. It's just keeping people so that if they're on an older version, they can migrate to the new version. It basically helps your Munki repo know that, like, if you, especially if you're migrating and your versions are all over the place, it's a nice way to bring people in.
So,
Next.
so this might be outside the scope of this, but I saw that you're managing it, so I'm going to ask.
Sure.
I like 13, I work 13, or now require an Apple ID for installation. How are you managing that? Like giving others?
That's a fun little story. We're still in the process. We did buy licenses, and we only redeemed one code with Apple, and then we hang on to those for auditing purposes. But we do deploy them as optional installs, and we keep track of them, and as we need more, we get more. So.
With a single Apple ID.
Yeah. But we're in the process of transitioning into VPP with Casper, so we're hoping that will be helpful. Go ahead. Sure.
Munki, you can show the licenses.
You could probably use license seats to do that. So like you could define like how it sees like if VMware is installed or something like that, and then so like for instance, I'm looking at iWork 09 and I have 82 installed. So I'm just looking to see if that app exists on the system. So you could do it. You could do it that way, but unfortunately, I don't think there's a whole lot of customization you can do.
You can definitely do it if you know Python, and it is open source. So if you know Python,
could customize it yourself.
Is there a way to get the reports, export reports from Munki Web Admin?
You probably could. I mean, it's HTML, and I'm sure you could copy it out, but I don't. Unfortunately, don't.
Not like an export button.
No, there's no export button, unfortunately. Yes.
Are you guys using Munki in production for all your 500 boxes?
Absolutely.
I read online that it's still in development.
Yep.
You see any issues?
Oh, Munki 2? No, we're not. No, we're not using Munki 2. It's just in testing. I thought you meant Munki. I'm sorry.
What's the ETA on Munki 2?
He'd be the guy to ask. Go ahead.
When you have like Office that you want to install
Mhm.
on your machines,
Sure.
how do you go about installing it? Without them knowing that it's being installed, you have to.
We actually do the Office package in DeployStudio, and then we have the updates in Munki. So we have the base like 14.3 with the volume license, and then Munki does the updates and marks them as a managed install, so it updates Office.
But how does it actually do the update for the user if they're in Word at the time?
It won't let them do the update unless they close the applications.
There's a message that comes up says you need to close Word.
Well, if they go to click update, it'll say these applications are open and you need to close them before you can do the update.
It's very similar to Software Update.
Yep.
It shows you a list of all the applications you need to close before you can run it.
Is it something you write in package info?
Yes.
Yes.
It's
You
called
can blocking applications. Yep.
The icons folder you mentioned, obviously that must be for the UI for the.
For Munki 2. Yep.
Correct. Okay.
Yep. So this is the feedback link. I mean, feel free to go there. I hope you guys enjoyed this, and we're available for questions. And if you guys want to get in touch with me, I'm more than happy to help you out. But thank you for attending. And
Thank you.